What's up everybody? Today we are unboxing and demoing the Grifta Solo. This is a one-handed controller so that way you can mouse with one hand and instead of keyboard, game controller with another. So we're going to try this out. It just came out on Amazon. It was a good deal, so I just wanted to snag it up quickly just to see if it works. I've tried other peripherals before like the Tartarus and it just didn't quite do what I wanted. It has a weird feel for your hand. The thumbstick's not terribly useful. Hopefully this gives us a better feel. You'll see the upright nature of this kind of feels a lot more like a controller would. So we're going to go ahead and give this a look. The box is very nondescript, not what I expected this to come in. Just doesn't really tell you much of anything. It's a surprise. The only thing that identifies it is this little sticker right here. It says Grifta Solo. Just surprised that it just came in such a generic, boring round box. But so it is, and we will carefully open this. All right. Set the knife down. All right, now here it looks like there's actual packaging. Get rid of this. Alright, so that is the box. So I'm going to guess it was just Amazon packaging on the outside since they didn't want to ship it just like this. I don't know what the QR code is for. It's got a UPC, so I guess it could hit a shelf. It's just really generic boxing. Alright. Here we have some different buttons, and really not much else to show here. There is the Grifta itself. I'll just set this here so you can kind of take a look at it while I pull the other stuff out. Alternate button placements. Instead of having those buttons there, you can swap pieces out. And the dongle, if we can get that piece out here. Looks like this box should slide open. And USB cord. Alright, let's get this little dongle out of here. And that's how that will connect to your computer. Because if you're somebody who's trying to sit on a couch and just hang out and not have a keyboard and mouse in front of you, this will be the way to do it. So all you need is your mouse now, and you can kind of just hold this like this. The hope would be that this is all usable. Different buttons. First impression is that thumbstick's in a good spot. It's reminiscent more of a PlayStation than an Xbox, as you can tell by its dome shape, but it feels good. I like its placement a lot. It feels like a real controller. If you were to imagine cutting off that whole section, it would be just like a real controller. The trigger design is quite interesting here though. You got one you push forward and one you pull down, and there's not a lot of room. My finger might be long, but it's definitely not large, so some people might have a problem, I would say, getting their finger in here without accidentally already touching some of these. You won't know until you try it, but so far I like it because it feels like everything's just a tiny throw from each other. Little button here, little button here. It's light, it's very light, very simple. Let's see what we can do for taking it apart. And I'm going to guess we'll have to hit the website for more details on that. Oh look, pre-charged. So you'll just need this for charging, but I doubt we'll need it now. And it looks like it's trying to bind to its dongle, which we don't have attached yet. So here we'll stop. And we will go mess with the Grifta. Okay, now let's talk about the D-pad on the Grifta. This is one area where this controller really falls apart. It's like a worse Xbox 360 controller D-pad. It's all held on by what you might be able to see here, with a little bit of extra light. It's this little hole here that lines up with a peg on the controller. And that peg doesn't stick together very well. As you can see, that joystick is supposed to have an interface that attaches to it. So what we have here is this piece stuck inside of this D-pad that this piece does not have, as you can tell by the difference in the hole openings here. So I'm glad it's stuck into the piece I wanted to use, because it's this D-pad, or as close as you're going to get, with something that's just a really tall little stick. It's barely serviceable, to be honest. I had to do custom D-pad settings for prioritization of left and right, because I was trying to use this with games like Smite, where relics and stuff are on the left and right. You have a lot of wobble here. So let's see. I'm sure I can show you. It's very roundy. It's very floaty. It's got a lot of squish. These little nubs for diagonals work pretty okay, but you spend a lot of time touching other directions you don't want to touch to get where you want to go sometimes. Just to push down, there's so much travel because you're actually moving a stick, not the pressing a button. So it's really not optimal. It's probably the worst part of this controller. The thumbstick's great. No drift. I've monitored that a lot in the X-Patter settings just to see if I needed to change dead zones or anything, and we can go over that too next.
Okay, now on to controller settings. As I mentioned before, this thing comes with no software. It is bare bones. You get the inputs that are labeled. You get A, B, X, Y. You got a D-pad, a joystick, a controller, like trigger, and like shoulder bumper, I guess is how you would describe them. It comes with a few different inputs, which is nice. Switching them kind of not as nice. It's a little finicky. But if you want to use this in any custom way possible that you want to, you're going to have software, which it comes with nothing. It just comes with stock inputs. And that's okay. I already have a paid version of X-Patter. I've been using this for a long time for my Xbox controllers before I got an Elite controller. So it's found its use again with the Grifta. So when I want to play games that require this D-pad, what you might notice is this D-pad will have, I guess it's easy enough sometimes to get the direction you want. You just have to be real careful. Like if you want to switch between like left, right, you can't like roll your thumb or anything like that. It's very sensitive. Like I am really barely touching this controller at all. The D-pad is highly sensitive because it's a joystick. And you don't need to go the full travel of that direction to get that direction to trigger. You need to go about 20% of the way there, and it's triggered. So I had to do something like this because the setup I was using was prioritizing left and right. And in that situation where if I was to hit up or down, it would have maybe cost me my character's life in that game for the moment. So it was pretty vital that I had to do a custom D-pad setting, which is where you would almost need something like X-Patter or something like this where you can choose the zones that you need for this. Just because, look, I don't even know how I hit down on that. It's the slightest tiny tweak that actually triggers it. Just want this because if you're using D-pad for anything technical or even just like halfway technical, it's a must. And like I was saying, this is the worst part of it. The joystick is pretty good. I was surprised at the quality of the joystick. It's got a good springiness to it. It's got good zoning. Like it travels all the way. But again, you only need to take the joystick half the way to get to max. So I am at a distance of 100, but I am definitely not at 100. I would say I'm at about 70% of the way on my thumbstick travel to go all the way up. Again, not a bad thing, but this one's pretty good. It's very, I'd say, accurate. I was quite happy with this. The joystick is definitely the highest quality thing. So I guess they went good on the joystick and then really cheaped out on the D-pad. so be it. Again, X-Pattern is another great thing. I don't have any drifting. I don't see this thing jumping around or stuttering or anything on me here. I'm just flicking it right now to see if we can't get some different readings. And we're looking at a difference of maybe 2. So you have a value difference of 2 sometimes. And I guess 3, because we got that to 0 out. So 0 to 3. That's pretty good. That's pretty smooth. And this thing's got good travel. It's a quality joystick. The buttons are just that. I mean, there's your X, Y, BA. They all trigger pretty okay. This is just a floating trigger because it wants to have 2 thumbsticks for half a controller. So you'll never use this right here. If you're looking for this image, I happen to have that, and I will be providing that on the website at this link you see here. We offer this. I had to go through and create it. I couldn't find this in the X-Pattern forums or just anywheres, so I went ahead and just created it. I can even give you this button layout. I'll dump that on the website as well, and just follow this link, and I'll get you to all these settings already done for you if you want. You just need X-Pattern, and I suggest buying X-Pattern. It's a great program. I've used it for years. It's rock solid. And this is super helpful. Again, this thing came with no papers, no instructions. It was just a brown box, and a couple trigger thumbstick adjustments, the alternate D-pad, which broke instantly, and that's it. That's all you get. So I had to scrounge this up from their website, which is also mimicked on their Kickstarter page. And important thing to note is the center switch on the D-pad is not active, meaning you can't click that D-pad. It has a click because it's basically a thumbstick, but it does nothing because it's hardwired, I guess, just to be D-pad only. Switching this mode is about as accurate as this sounds for around 6 seconds. It's a little tricky. It's something to do because it's a little finicky, but you get used to it. You can figure a way to work around it. When it says green red, it really is a green LED and then a red LED showing together at the same time, so you will see both colors in there. It's not that it's flashing or alternating colors or anything like that. It's showing them both simultaneously, and I didn't know that to start with. I finally figured that out. These, I would say, are almost useless because these back starts are just in such an awkward spot on the controller that you would not want to try to get up there and use those. Plus, they are also dual purposed, and you don't want to be in a spot where you are accidentally turning on this air mouse feature. This is atrocious. It's terrible. I will try to turn it on to see if I can't demonstrate. What we get, we have that air mouse, but your cursor will just stay constantly jumping around. It will be a mess. It's not safe. The cursor just jumps all around with the air mouse. It's brutal. I had to disable it. It was not working. My camera controls are just jumping all over the place. So definitely turn off that air mouse. That is an absolute must to use this controller. Otherwise, you will get motion sickness from just trying to use it. It's brutal. Again, the switch off time frame between this time frame, sometimes I felt like I was changing modes other than just turning off my controller. I just let it auto switch off. The battery life's kind of okay on this thing, but then again, it's half a controller. It doesn't need a whole lot. It doesn't have rumble. It's easy to charge. So I would just let this thing turn itself off, and it does it kind of quickly. So ultimately, my review of this product is avoid. I paid half price for it, but it wasn't a good product. I'm happy I did not pay $60 for this. It's pretty chintzy feeling. The quality just doesn't seem there. And I've used a lot of peripherals like this. I've used the Orbis. I've used the Tartarus from Razer. I love these little quarter keyboard styles with the thumbsticks on them. So I thought this might be a nice change because those thumbsticks never work. Well, now I got a great thumbstick, but your D-pads and like your back and start button are just either out of reach or just something you don't want to touch because it's such a problem and a nuisance. So my advice is stay away. Don't get caught up trying to use this thing. It's not going to make you too happy. It's unfortunate. I like to have something besides a keyboard to use all the time, but this is unfortunately where it's at. Thanks, guys, for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal. Hit the bell, do all that jazz. If you found this helpful in any particular way, let us know. Or if there's anything else I can help you with on this controller. I spent a lot of time tinkering around with it and trying to get this to work with, different games I'm playing. So if you have any questions, ask. We'll definitely put the links in the description down below, and they should be here on the notations. So be sure to follow through if you need the image for your X pattern. If you want the button layouts, I've already got all that stuff for you, so the heavy lifting's done. Check out our work at theauthenticgamer.com, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.